Hello, everybody. John Remsen. Welcome to our 61st MPF webinar. We've been doing the series now for 5 years, and our panel is assembling. And not surprisingly, we had some technical glitches. So we're trying to get everybody on board, mic'd up. And Michael and I, it may be just the two of us. But the show will go on, and we will have our polling data and talk through business development for smaller and mid-sized law firms in particular. And, we'll do the best we can to incorporate our other panelists. And there's John Hellerman.
Hello.
Yes.
Yes.
Ding, 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 ding. John, welcome. Nice to see you.
Nice to see you. Thanks for having me.
Had me sweating bullets over here, my friend.
It must be the spot. I don't know.
Yeah,
you should see my armpits. I mean, they're just so
Me too. I had a great background too. Now I'm sitting at my table.
So we're just chatting it up. Our crowd's flowing in, and we'll begin our formal program shortly. Uri Gutfreund, our co-moderator, is having technical issues, so he's relogging in. We had a dress rehearsal yesterday. Everything we thought we ironed out, but technology, and me in technology. So we're doing the best we can. We'll have a good show. Hopefully Uri will join us shortly, but I think we can carry it without him if he's unable to get things going. It's funny because on the dress rehearsal yesterday, he was fine. And here we are live, problems. We like to chat it up for a minute or two before we get started. So want to just introduce everyone to John Hellerman. We'll do formal introductions shortly. How you doing today, John?
I'm well, John. Thank you for having us. Looking forward to
talking to you for being with us. And I'm glad we can see and hear you. That's a good thing.
Got it
Where
working.
are you sitting today? Where are you sitting today?
I'm in DC, where it's a little cloudy but cool and nice actually for a change.
Cool. So, and Michael, how are you doing, my friend? My new friend. We just met the first time.
Days ago. No, John, thanks for having me. Yeah, so I'm coming from Michigan here, so it's a nice day out, nice and warm, so it's good. So
are the trees starting to change, do their thing?
Slightly. So in another month or so, will be different fall colors coming.
Yeah, they seem to come later and later every year, the fall colors. Imagine that. And I'm coming to you from the beautiful Hilton Hotel in Parsippany, New Jersey today. I know everybody's jealous that I'm here in Parsippany.
You're doing a big thing, right?
Uri and I presented some programs for managing partners in the city yesterday. We had about 50, 60 managing partners, mid-sized firms in Manhattan, and then we take the show out to New Jersey. So we had about 20, 25 managing partners from firms in New Jersey today, and we do the polling and all that good stuff. So trying to help managing partners and leaders of smaller and mid-sized firms be more effective in their leadership roles. As we all know, change is all around us, competition like never before within the legal industry, and, trying to help law firms, figure it out, the business side of running the firm. So Uri's still futzing around with his technology, but that's not going to stop us. We're going to go ahead and get started. It is 2:00. So welcome everybody to our 61st MPF webinar. Hard to believe. And today we're going to be talking about content-fueled business development, particularly for smaller and mid-sized law firms. This just isn't a big law thing. It's equally, if not more important, to smaller and mid-sized law firms to spend their marketing dollars wisely and effectively. So we're going to drill down a little bit on public relations, and John and Michael are going to kind of lead our conversation. They're the experts. So we'll get going here. Uri, hopefully you get it figured out. We're looking for you, and we see a picture of the beach.
He's behind a tree. He's behind one of those trees.
But we don't see you, so come on, get off the beach, put that Corona beer away, and get with the program. So hopefully... Oh, I can hear him. I am here lurking, and gentlemen, I will join on camera
when I can. This technology just isn't my friend today.
It's user error is what it is. It's what
Well,
exactly what it
maybe.
is. So our
Maybe.
guests today are John Hellerman. John runs Hellerman Communications. We've known each other for what, John? 30 years?
Yeah, going
Good
on
while.
maybe. Yeah, for sure.
We were both kids
I hate to
in
admit
legal
that.
associations. And
I was a
John
kid.
was,
You were an old guy.
hey, be nice to the host. John chaired a conference in Washington, D.C. many years ago. And that's about the time we met. And he worked at Jaffe, one of the leading PR groups for smaller and mid-sized law firms for many years. And John, tell us a little bit about yourself, and then we'll come to Michael and introduce Michael.
Yeah, sure. So I'm here in DC. I'm originally from Chicago, so Michael and I hit it off pretty well as Midwesterners. My agency, I started in 2003, and as John mentioned, I sort of started my career at Jaffe Associates, which was sort of a wellspring of talent in our industry back in the early days. And then I left left Jaffe to join a firm as executive vice president called Levick Strategic Communications. It turned into Levick. It was one of the big crisis communications firms. And then I started my own firm in 2003, Hellerman Communications, and so it's been almost 25 years.
Hard to believe. In time
Yeah.
flying. It's amazing.
Yeah,
And it just
it's amazing.
accelerates the age.
Absolutely.
Because now you're becoming an old guy, whether you like
I
it or
am.
not.
That's right.
We have our younger panelists here. Michael, tell me if I'm killing your name, Michael. Michael Zukewich.
He's as old as you, John. He just looks good.
Hey, be nice, John. Michael, tell us a little bit about what you do and introduce yourself.
Sure. Thanks, John. I'm Michael Zukewich, Director of Business Development and Marketing at Zukewich, yes, at Howard & Howard, which is based in Michigan with a handful of offices sprinkled across the country. So we're about 140 attorneys now, and I've been at firms for north of 20 plus years, and I met John Hellerman back when I was in the office in DC, and now started to work with John again over the last year. So it's been great. But so my role really, yes, business development, marketing, but for the last probably 10, 12 years, I've been focusing on the BD side and sales side of law firms. So, and coaching lawyers. So that's what I love to do and enjoy. So glad to be
Michael,
here.
you're LSSO's Marketer of the Year, Salesperson of the Year, and most people on our call probably have never heard of LSSO. What's that group all about?
Sure. So probably about in 2019, I was introduced to the Legal Sales and Service Organization. My boss at my former firm said this would be something an area that you would be really good at. I started bringing in a couple of clients to my old firm, and I really enjoyed the sales side. And so I've been involved with the group for now 6 years. And a year ago, I was honored to be selected as Sales Executive of the Year for the legal industry. And the great part about it is, in my opinion, and what I tell even our firm, and that this goes out to any law firm, big or small, and it went to Howard & Howard, myself at Howard & Howard. So I think it really put a nice little pin in the map for Howard & Howard and the expertise that we're bringing to the firm. So happy to be.
Oh my God, look who it is. He's out of the bushes.
In a suit.
Murray, in a suit and tie, for crying out loud. Welcome, Murray. Say hi to everybody. Can't hear you. Can't hear you, my friend. Futz around with your settings. So here's a little bit about John's firm. We'll hear about this FAME program he's got going on as we go through the program. Hellerman Communications, DC based. A few shameless announcements, then we'll jump into our program. Our webinar series number 61. We try to hold them every Wednesday, third Wednesday, 2 o'clock. Love to hear your input on topics. So when we leave today, you'll be directed to a very short survey where we ask you what you like, what you don't like, topics for future programs. And we do tune into that. So if you have some thoughts, recommendations, speakers, topics, let us hear from you. And Uri and I have been cranking these out. I think we've missed one in 5 years. And remarkably, we're sustaining it, which we're having fun with it and averaging, depending on topic, 100 to 155 registrants, 100 to 150 registrants, and a good chunk of managing partners, CEOs. Today, as you might suspect, we have some marketers with us. So nice crowd. We'll be recording the session and sending you the links and the handouts and the polling results. Next month, we're having a program in Chicago, empowering women in law firm leadership. It's by women, it's for women. Registration is still open. And if you're interested in that, check it out. And we'd be happy to entertain your registration. And you don't have to be a woman to come. We do have a few men who are interested in empowering women within their firms. So check that out. We do our weekly newsletter, try to get it out Friday mornings, and a listserv. And once you get involved in our community, come to a live event. We open the gates to the listserv and Zoom calls. And our website is open and free to all, where we try to house a nice collection of articles and white papers and resources geared towards smaller and mid-sized law firms. Today,
John, can you hear me now? John, can you hear me now?
We can. You're interrupting, Uri. I'm talking. All right, we can hear you and see you.
Great.
Say hello.
Hi, everyone. Nice to see everybody here. John, nice to see you again. That's John Hellerman. And Mike, great to see you again as well. And John, great to see you.
Not nice to see me. You say John Hellerman,
yeah.
but me, you've seen too much of me the past few days.
I went to Hellerman.
So we got 90.
Sure.
We got 90 signed up for today. I got a late start getting the emails out, promoting the program. But we have 90 managing partners, firm leaders. We're going to do our polling. We'll send you all these results. We're recorded. It'll be on our website, our YouTube channel. And what we ask of you all is your feedback. That's all we ask is, what'd you think? How can we make these programs better?
It'd be nice.
So as we drive into our topic here, the data, people love the data and the pace and the interaction. So we'll deliver that. And start with our first polling question. We use the live polling. And let me go there with our routine first question, which is, and this is mostly for John and for Michael, how many lawyers you got? And this hits our sweet spot fairly consistently, sort of 25 to 100 lawyers is what I describe as our sweet spot. We have some fewer than 10 lawyer firms. But I've asked John and Michael to try to, gear your comments toward leaders of smaller and mid-sized law firms. Closing the polls. I always used to tease I'm from Georgia. I know how to count votes. So vote. I see about 70% of you in at this point. So here's what we got in terms of firm sizes with us today. Can everybody see that? Is that showing up, Uri? You always tell me when I screw up the polling part.
I do see it. I do see
Good.
it.
So there's our firm sizes. Nobody more than 100 lawyers, interestingly. So we're hitting the smaller mid-sized segment. So let's keep that in mind as we go through our conversation. When you registered, we asked, and I got to see this question we asked because I can't see it. It is, does your firm require individual business development plans for lawyers? Here's what you told us. Half say no, but 36% are saying, yeah, all our lawyers get some business development training. John Hellerman, what do you think?
I think it's critical to have a plan. In fact, we'll talk a little bit later about using what I call an after placement plan for strategic purposes. But I really think it's a good deal to sit down and have a partner think about, who their prospects are, what sort of they have to offer the industry, what they're going to do, the conferences that are laid out, the influencers that are talking to their prospects, and that sort of thing. It's critical to have a plan. I'm sure Michael agrees.
Michael, do you?
I mean, it's a roadmap. So I think if we don't have a roadmap, where are we going? And so, my firm, we do request all attorneys to do one. And I will say probably the numbers are very comparable to the responses here, that probably about half actually do it. But that being said, we are starting to get more strategic in what we're looking to do by correlating if someone doesn't have it on their plan to request to go to a conference, to go to here, go there, be involved in this organization. If it's not actually on the plan, it can't be included in the budget, which I'm going through my budget season right now. So
That's, I think, the lever. You want firm money? Show me the plan. I want to know how
Right.
to
That's right.
spend that firm money wisely, consistent to firm goals and objectives, practice group goals and objectives, and stuff you enjoy doing.
And I was going to add,
there's-
John, one of the things we have is we have an intake form that, like, Michael would send out to people he wants to become part of our program, which is just a very standard, it's a, questionnaire that we would fill out sort of like at a doctor's office. And we use that sort of as a
doctor's office. Love filling out those forms.
Yeah, but you know what, it takes about 10 minutes, and it gives you a really good outline of what you need to pursue, or what you want to pursue. And we require those, and that's sort of a gateway test, because a firm will sometimes say we want to do it on these 4 or 5 partners, and really only 3 of them want to participate, and so only 3 end up filling out the form, and we use that as a way to gate test whether or not we should spend resources on the other 2.
Yeah. Show me the plan. You want firm money, show me the plan. Happy to fund it if it makes sense,
Sure.
But just don't squander it on random acts of golf and lunch and in nickel and dime charitable contributions. I don't think that gets you very far. Or are you surprised by this? I'm going to pick up the pace.
While I'm not surprised, I think if you just zoom out for a second and think of what other business spends money or dreams of success, of any success, without a plan. I mean, it's outrageous. Clearly, you don't spend money without it. But I would say, even broader speaking, if you want success in business development, you have to have a plan. If you don't, and you never want to do that, that's fine. But everyone else, you need a plan.
I think the firm needs a plan, the practice groups need plans, and the individuals need plans. And you go bottom up, top down. There's no secret way to get there, but we got to know where we're going and the kind of clients we want to attract and retain. I think that just makes all the sense in the world. When you registered, we asked if you provide business development training, and it's a fairly even split on business development training. We asked as well, I'm in a laptop in a hotel room, so forgive me if I'm a little clunky. This next question asks if you track the marketing time of your associates. 50-50 split. And I think I would say if you want your associates to learn the skills, you invest in them. They don't teach it in law school. If you want them, what you monitor, what you track and reward tends to get done. And in a lot of firms, we want our associates doing some of this, yet we don't track it, measure it, reward much of it. So they tend not to do it. John Hellerman, you surprised firms this size aren't doing more with the training? And,
the training, I mean, that seems, I would certainly, just like I'd say you should have a plan. If you have the ability to put everyone through a training, it would be very valuable. But certainly your frontline practice leaders and those that you want to go out to prospect should be trained up on business development. And then, for this question, in terms of just associate use, this is one of the ways that smaller firms can really try and scale up their marketing resources, because those associates are sort of frontline doers. They can co-author articles. They can their skill set now, because they're younger, obviously, is on social media. So they can help firms do a lot with something that's sort of nascent to their own comfort levels.
They don't teach it in law school, and I think that's right. Training, and do you force feed it, or do you work with the people who have the appetite to do this? Not everyone wants to be a rainmaker. Has the comfort level.
Right.
Finders, grinders, we hear that all the time. Identifying your finders, potential finders. We had some discussion in New York, New Jersey, Uri, about do you get the associates out there early in their careers, getting used to this, or do you wait until they're about to become a partner and then spring the old question, where's your book of business? you know?
John,
You want to
I think
comment on
this,
that?
well, just on these two slides showing about 50% track it and 50% give training, I actually think that's ahead of most small and mid-sized firms. This is a better group than average. I think John's
Right.
point that he should. This is a self-to group. Unfortunately, I think most firms don't do those. This is a better group than average, from what I see.
That's probably right.
Yeah. And that's why they're here. I mean, they're interested in the topic, obviously. Because, a lot of lawyers, you still hear it. Well, my best marketing is that I practice good law. And it's like, well, good on you. Do you return phone calls? Are you responsive? You meet deadlines? Oh, no, I practice good law. And I think in this day and age, there's a little more to it than that. I asked Hellerman to provide a few polling questions. So here is the first of several. We have a few more polling questions this program than we usually do. We're going to ask you if you have an in-house marketing business development director, somebody kind of taking the lead on your marketing business development. Here come our polling results. We got about 50% of you in. I'll keep it open a minute longer. I like to get 70% participation in these polls. And we are almost there, 67% in. I'm going to come on. If you haven't pressed a number, let us hear from you. So we hit our 70, and here we are in terms of in-house marketing. 64% say they have such an animal. John Hellerman, at what firm size can we justify an in-house marketing position, be it a coordinator, a manager, a director? How big do I have to be before it makes sense?
Well, I'll tell you, I mean, they certainly help us having someone like in Michael's role with an ear to the partners on a day-to-day basis, generating ideas and seeking opportunities and being able to identify opportunities. So for me, it would be an answer like whenever you can afford one, the minute you can. I don't necessarily think it has to do with firm sizes, but I would say that, once you're dealing with 20 or so partners, by then, I think you should have some professional staff on board.
Yeah, I think 20 is a good number to look to. I did some research among Southeastern firms a long time ago. And, at what staffing levels are you bringing marketing in terms of marketing person per lawyer, And we were finding it mid-20s, 25 lawyers equals one in-house marketing person. Michael, you've got 140 lawyers. Where are you? In terms of your in-house marketing?
Yeah, so when I joined the firm 3.5 years ago, we did have a solo person that we were working with on the PR side, and we have moved to a couple different firms.
Your in-house marketing group. How many you got there at 100?
Oh, there's 3 others besides myself. Well, I'm sorry, I'm one of 3. We used to have 4, and we had an internal PR person, and we decided 3 months ago to move to just John and his team. So
you're blending outsource and in-house kind of.
Right. Yeah. And as John and I have been talking since I've been kind of being the ear to the ground with the attorneys, as John was mentioning, I can, I'm having one-on-one conversations with my attorneys all the time to be able to say, hey, I heard this on NPR. I know that this attorney is focusing on this area. John, can your team get some placements? And as I'm watching my email right now, John's team is hitting my attorneys up, and people are already responding with opportunities as we speak right here, which is great. So, that happens daily. So, but it's by having someone, a marketing person, knowing, what the attorneys are working with to be able to be that conduit to John's team. It's just invaluable to be able to get more exposure. And we can talk about it later, how we leverage that exposure into real BD opportunities.
We're looking now outsourcing the marketing BD function. Do you work with an outside firm, outside PR firm? 20% say yes. Most of you do not. I find many mid-sized firms hire the outside agency and it's not working. Either the agency doesn't know how law firms work and the business of law, and the firm's not giving the agency much direction. And so, $10,000 a month retainer, I think maybe bring that in-house you may get more bang for your buck. That's what I often find
Well,
myself saying.
if I could weigh in on that a little bit, John, like what we found, and as I shared before, we had a solo person, we had a small team, didn't really know legal, and we were happy-ish. You know, we didn't have real ROI results. And so, but the program that John Hellerman's team brought together, it's a different way that we can kind of track things and rank depending on the opportunity. So it's been really invaluable for our firm leadership to also see, get this opportunity, this is what it's going to cost you. It's not just a straight monthly retainer, which has been awesome. So
Yeah, I think a firm that really understands the business of law and law firms are unique animals, you know, and some of these agencies that, you know, just don't have that law firm expertise kind
right,
of flail around. Oh, there are bar rules and regulations.
right.
I didn't know that. You know, yeah, you need someone who knows a little bit about the business of law. Uri,
John,
anything to add as we move through our opening questions? I stacked the session today with some
yes.
polling questions.
Well, I think that one of the topics that everybody's talked about, and I get this question a lot, so this panel is way better qualified than I am on this topic, which is, gentlemen, people who are 20, 30, 40 lawyers, of which many are here today, they're often looking at hiring one person. And the question that I see them wrestling with, and love for you to opine on it, is if I'm hiring someone with a marketing versus a business development, I can only hire one person. Where should my resources be? Because at least in our experience, in my experience, somebody's better in one or the other. Could be their experience there. So where do you see the dollars going? Where do you think the best bang for buck? And then just as a tangential question to that, which is some of the others could be backfilled on an outside maybe. So how would you recommend spending those resources? Heavy on business dev or heavier on marketing?
You're asking me, or
Yeah,
I mean, I would.
John and Michael. I mean, you're
Yeah.
both in the industry, you know, all
Yeah,
the
I was a
time.
marketer, Uri. I know a little bit about it.
I mean, so generally speaking, I would say go for the business development person. It's a slightly
Yeah, I
slightly
agree.
different skill, and I think that it's one that the lawyers particularly lack. Whereas from a marketing perspective, you know, there are things that everyone can kind of do themselves that, you know, everyone that doesn't do marketing aggressively does some sort of marketing, you know, even if it's they attend the ABA lunch once a year or whatever, you know, that, but having sincere business development effort is really important.
I hear somebody's associate in the background.
That's my associate.
I think he
Michael?
wants on the call. Michael, comments to that?
Yeah, so I mean, like I shared before, like for the last, I don't know, 10 plus years, I've really focused on the BD side, even more on the sales side. But they go hand in hand. And I will just say, like when I joined my current firm, there was a BD director and a marketing director. And when I joined, they combined the role into one. That being said, and I say this all the time, even to my PR team, my events team, we use these initiatives as reasons for business development. There are steps to keep the conversation going versus just their isolated incidences that we just happen to do on any given basis. We really have to use them as a campaign of all sorts. So it can't just be, okay, we're doing these random mixers with, you know, CPA firms and pray and hope. It's got to be, I mean, you could say the same thing for billboards that, you know, back in the day, and maybe some for personal injury firms, right? You know, it's a pray and hope method, but versus actually having a methodical, planned out, you know, action items that have a campaign to leverage for keep a conversation going with the client or prospect. That's what
I remember in the early days when we had something called the Yellow Pages, and firms would go with the AA aardvark.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
and the
Stay at
back
the top.
page of the book. But how times have changed, and you know, I liken it. Marketing is check writing. It's our brand. It's our PR. It's our advertising. It's our sponsorships. The lawyers just write checks. BD is actually getting out and spending time and developing relationships with folks in a position to hire and refer. And marketing gives you the platform, the brand, the name recognition, but it's really about you. going out and forming those relationships. Clients hire the lawyer they know, like, and trust. So that's how I find a lot of lawyers don't fully understand the difference between marketing, business development, sales.
Well, and John, we called this this session content fueled business development because it's not content fueled marketing. That's sort of an obvious thing. The whole sort of idea behind this use of PR and the strategic use of it is to make sure that it's being used farther down the sales funnel than awareness or visibility. Very frankly, just be totally honest, the big firms, the Kirklands and the Lathams, they can't even afford the amount of PR you need to keep up awareness. Okay, like I have a friend who does the cheddar cheese aspect of the American dairy farm, dairy producers account at Ketchum, and just the cheddar, they spend $450,000 a year just marketing the cheddar portion of the cheese account. So when you think about these firms, they're only a big firm like Kirkland across all its marketing dollars is spending a lot, but in PR it's probably spending maybe $500,000. And the only thing that they're doing more than a smaller firm is they're marketing many more lawyers, right? They're pushing out and getting behind many more partners than a firm of 10 might. And so if the budget, for instance, for a partner to sort of do enough business development or enough content development to sort of effectuate a good BD strategy, if that costs $8,000 or $10,000, they might be doing that for 45 or 50 partners, right? And that's your $500,000. Whereas what the market has always needed is a way to allow these smaller firms to do an $8,000 project as opposed to having to hire a firm that's going to spend $120,000 doing a lot of stuff they don't need. So that's kind of the idea behind it.
I was reading an article, just on an aside. I was stunned. The largest television advertiser in the country, Morgan & Morgan.
Morgan, yep.
More than Coca-Cola, more than McDonald's, more than Budweiser beer, Morgan & Morgan, for the people. Yep. They're a plaintiff's firm, but man, are they flooding the airways. And if you want to compete with Morgan & Morgan for slip and fall and car wrecks, good luck.
And that's why he's a billionaire too.
He's a multi-billionaire, and he is rumored to be a potential candidate for governor of Florida. He's a powerful guy and a billionaire. Measuring the ROI, biggest challenge. We're spending all this money, and how do I track it? Do I know what's working, what's not? I think McDonald's used to say, half the money I spend on marketing is a waste. I just don't know which half.
That's right.
So how do you measure ROI on these activities?
Well, I'll let Michael sort of fill in the gap here, but I would just start by saying the first thing is you have to know what you're looking to accomplish, right? So you have to be able to measure that. So that comes in. That's where the plan comes in. That's where what you want to do and accomplish comes in, and then you're basically looking at how those pieces of content and other aspects of your plan are moving you forward to the ultimate result that you had desired. And that's a pretty easy thing to do once you have a plan.
Matters. Is it what? How do I measure it? All right, that's good talk, but give me something I can.
I would, if I were going to measure the success of a business development or marketing campaign within a smaller firm, besides trying to track just like how do we do this year versus last year, and like if I went back 2 years prior and what was our average growth versus now that we have a business development person and a program in place, et cetera, what's that average growth? Besides doing that sort of general metric, I would look at the beginning of the year, how many contacts did you have in your CRM system or database? And at the end of the year, how many do you have? We're ultimately a relationship business, and what we're supposed to be doing through the business development and through the marketing is creating more relationships, lucrative relationships. But I would say like the amount of relationships that your firm creates is a good KPI, key metric to keep in.
Well, intake, I think, is a great place to capture. How'd you find us? Why'd you hire us? Some question like that on intake is something to consider. And I used to
Although I
be
will say though, John,
the old but for test, but for the seminar, but for the attendance at the conference, but for the LinkedIn, presence. How do you isolate? Because it accumulates,
right.
you know.
And I would also say though, that's a tricky question to ask, because a lot of buyers for these types of sophisticated services, right? They're not going to say, for instance, like I saw your ad when I was walking in the airport and decided to, or I ran across your article.
I was impressed by your super lawyers.
Yes, that's right.
To love
I
that
found
one,
you in the
right?
directory.
How you feel about the directories?
That's right.
I agree with you.
Michael, how do you measure ROI?
I was going to ask you, Michael, how do you guys do it at your firm?
So there's a number of things, and I'll start with a long time ago. I was working with an attorney. He said, "I want to be in the Wall Street Journal." And we probably so what? What are you gonna do with that? And it was sort of what I was mentioning before with building a campaign around a topic. And so using a outside agency to be able to help get that initial placement. This is the topic. This is the thing I want to speak on. And I even take it a step back when an attorney says, I don't even know what to speak on. I don't even know what topics out there. So I go back and say, what are the questions that your clients are currently asking you that you want more of that type of work that you can then get addressed in a way that you can get placed in a publication or whatever it might be. So what is the point and how do we use that? So what we can do is keep that touch point going by, like I said, building a campaign. And my firm uses AI a fair amount to be able to take that piece, say it was written on whatever topic, then we take it through AI and say, what are the 3 takeaways?
Ooh, AI. We're going to talk about it, using AI to fuel your content.
What are the 5 pitfalls? So my team can create something that John's team may have got placed once, and then we track all the non-billable time that attorney would have spent. We do a follow-up form, and attorney says, okay, I spent 5 hours doing this article or whatever it was. And then I multiply that by their billable hour. And at the end of the year, what are we saving the law firm? But we got 5 more pieces of content that my team created, which was non-billable time that would have gone on the attorney's time. So when you talk about ROI efficiency, that's where I go to when it comes to how can we be more effective, but also, when I saw the ROI tracking was the biggest, hurdle for people to get over. I look at it like you didn't have to plan a $20,000 or $10,000 event cocktail party with a bunch of your biggest clients. What I'm talking about leveraging it for is, okay, when it goes dormant, I'm not sending emails that says just following up. I know we talked about this 3 months ago, 6 months ago, 8 months ago. We're using content pieces for the opportunities that you currently want, that it's an area of need to keep the conversation going.
A lot of law firms using AI, be it, chat or Perplexity or, boy, that stuff can churn out some nice articles. And I think short, relevant, timely, remember Y2K, and we all had to send out our Y2K, and the firms that were late and long missed the boat. You got to get out early with content that's relevant, timely. Don't be sending information about your employment law practice group over to, think about who your audience is and be targeted and focused with messages that resonate with them. Uri and I are really big at getting feedback from managing partners. And what do you want? We think we know what they want or should want, but what do they really want? And try to respond to those needs. And guess what? They come. And Uri's done a brilliant job building his managing partner community in New York, New Jersey. I'm trying to do the same thing. I think it's relationships. Clients hire lawyers. They know, they like, they trust. And it's a courtship, 8 to 11 impressions, so say the studies, to convert a prospect to a client. So they read about you in the paper, they meet you at a cocktail party, they get your newsletter, and it starts to accumulate. Let me back up. Wall Street Journal industry trade publications, befriend the editors, befriend the reporters. I can't tell you how many lawyers say, I can't talk to that reporter. They'll misquote me. I want to read what they're going to say before I want to approve what they're going to, come on. You want to be in the press, you got to work with the editors and
And John, let me be really cynical about this on a level that I hope no one minds. But you know, lawyers spend so much time and concern about like sort of what they're going to say, how they're going to look. What, you know, I don't know how many people are reading this stuff. The value truly, I really believe, comes in. I mean, there's two things, as Michael was saying. You know, if you create a particular piece of content with a strategy in mind to share it with, you know, these 6 prospects, and we're gonna, there's a collaboration to that, and that's a very important thing that I want to make sure we talk about today. But there's also this idea that that if you're creating something relevant, or if you're creating something with media, like when you watch a movie, when they want to suggest that someone's important in the movie, they follow them with photographers. There's a scene where there's paparazzi, right? And so the idea is that this stuff is important to create so that you can tell people you've created it. You know, it's one thing whether or not people are going to see you on CNBC each time you've appeared, but if your resume, you know, if your bio says appears on CNBC regularly, or has, you know, spoken to the New York Times 6 times in the last year, I don't know if people are going to read your quotes, but being credentialed by the New York Times often is certainly better than being only credentialed by them once and not being credentialed by them at all. So that's kind of the idea behind it. It's to be able to tout this, it's to be able to brag about it a little bit. But it's also really, the really important thing, I think, from a business development standpoint is that the lawyers are generally very afraid to reach out to clients and prospects because they don't want to rock the boat if it's a client. They need something of value to reach out with, or what's the point? You know, you call up a client and say, you want to have lunch. It's like, about what?
Right.
It's like, you know, call me next week. And what are you going to do next week? Call them back and say, do you want to have lunch now? You know, you need something. And I really believe that this content, the ability to collaborate, to create it, is what gives you the grease in the wheels for business development.
Here's that article I think you might be interested in because it's timely and relevant.
Or let's write an article together. Like I have an opportunity. Yeah, I have an opportunity to byline an article for Law 360 about the topic that's important to your business and, you know, my counsel to your business. Let's do it together. Michael and I.
Yeah.
Like, let's do this.
Yeah, just like you're doing right here and now, right?
Yeah, and then the idea behind that is that not only are you helping to create a relationship and collaborating, but you're expanding your network, right? It's now Michael's going to share it to his network. I'm going to share it to my network. You guys are going to share it to your networks. So it leverages a larger sort of component of people that might see it. But it also suggests like who will spend time with you, you know, page 6, there used to be a column in Chicago that was the Inc. column and whatnot. And, you know, it was like just knowing that a client was seen at a restaurant with a particular lawyer was good PR back in that day, because it suggested, you know, who would go and spend an hour of their day with the guy from that firm, from Howard and Howard. You know, I mean, just that kind of tell is a big credentialing tool in this marketplace. And so that's what we're trying to generate. We're trying to give these lawyers excuses to reach out to their clients. So whether it's like, look, help me byline an article, and imagine you invite 6 people. You have one person in mind, they say no. And then you invite the next one, they say no. So now you've made 6 invitations.
You scored
7th person,
right
the
there.
the 7th person co-writes it with you, and the first 6 are coffees that you've set up. You know, too bad, we'll write something else later. But it's a reason to be able to call, and you have something cool to offer. Do this with me.
Yeah.
Or after it's done.
You want that lawyer to take you, that potential client to take your call and want to have lunch with you because you're going to bring some really interesting thought leadership. It's not you know, I'm sitting down to get pitched by my lawyer to hire him. Yeah, who wants to return that phone call? You got to bring value to the conversation or they won't want to meet with you. Uri, you and I have learned that lesson very effectively, I think.
And I would say one more thing. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I mean, that's exactly it. John, people want to be with people who are valuable, not annoying them. And so, yeah, John Hellerman had some great tips there. I mean, that was just great tips. You're thinking of reasons to call them. You're making them look good, making your clients look good, and building up this resume of this bio that says you've been credentialed. Love that. And yes, John Remsen, I hear that also. What if they ask a gotcha question? What if? I would say of the 4 of us who have been in the media, it is rare that they're trying to get a gotcha story about our businesses. Let's face it. we're not scandalous. That's not our business.
We're not even pitching like the media that we're pitching is for the lawyers to be sources and experts to help
Exactly.
tell to help the reporter report the story. They're not that's a whole other thing that we do. We do crisis communications and whatnot, but like
Right.
if we need to keep you out of the story, we can certainly do that. Or try
like
to.
Exactly.
you misused AI
Yeah.
in your filings to
Well,
the court. There's where we need
And
some PR, right? And then
I was going to say, I was just going to add one other thing, which is like the biggest self-depreciating thing I can sort of say, which is that you don't always even need your own thought leadership. So keep that in mind. I mean, remember back in the day, right? From the desk of those notes. Let me tell you I'll tell you really, I hope to be really quick, but a couple of years ago, and I saw the firm on the registration thing. They might even be listening, but there was a lawyer who wanted to meet a general counsel, and the general counsel was connected in LinkedIn to an associate or a friend, a high school friend of this partner that they hadn't talked to. It's one of those things, right? They hadn't talked to the friend in years, and to just reach out and say, hey, can you connect me with so-and-so would be so vile. They couldn't bring themselves to do it. But what we did do is we researched the friend and found that, they were coming up in marathon announcements, so every weekend they had like some marathon race score. So they were a runner. And the partner that we were working with was like, oh, yes, they were big, like field, track and field folk. So we found a contemporary article about tennis shoes in Runner's World. He sent a note to the friend saying, hey, I was just thinking about you. I came across this thing in like a store and, thought about you and thought I'd share it. You might be interested. And they connected and they had a kind of a 3 or 4 back and forth. How are the kids? And then it was kind of like, hey, and I know that sounds awful and manipulative and whatnot, but that's sales on some level. And it's just, I'm just using it as to demonstrate that it'd be great if he could, and then he shared thought leadership content about something specific to the business with the general counsel that he was trying to target. But the point is that content was really a mechanism by which to reach out and be genuine.
One of the best rainmakers I've met in my life, $10 million book of business, was so good at, I was thinking about you, thought you might be interested in this. And the tokens of gifts, here's your subscription to Yachting Magazine. Here's a set of golf balls I thought you might like from Augusta National. That's cool stuff. And just, Karen, I had a client years ago, a small town, they'd scan the local newspaper. And anytime he saw one of the kids of his clients or somebody he was pitching, hit the home run to win the game or was mentioned in the newspaper, he'd laminate it, send it to the kid. That's cool.
That's great. Yeah.
That's
yeah.
the parent to the kid. Congratulations on hitting that home run. And here comes the kid. Daddy, who's this? Mommy, who's this? And
That's right.
man, it was in his routine. Pretty cool stuff. We got to sail through. I'm looking at the clock here. My time flies. 15 minutes left. Yeah, we do. But the polling is really great, and we don't have to necessarily stick to our slide deck. John, I've crammed some of the slides you sent us into this section, and I'm going to ask you to sail through in about 5 minutes, if we can.
Okay. Well, branding is obviously how you differentiate, but a lot of firms think that they create their brand, but really the market creates the brand, and firms either aspire to it or they aspire away from it. And a lot of firms have soft brands. So you think about like Nice Guys, Affordable. Those are soft brands. They might be how you're known in an industry. A harder brand might be like Howard & Howard's, right? Like, sure. Or Killers, or Scorched Earth, Litigators, that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Howard & Howard's, business firm, they brand around business. So it's just a way for the market to know, like, you don't want people who don't need your services to bother you, basically. That's a good way to explain it.
I had a friend, she's out of Miami, and she would always come into the tree. What kind of car is this firm? Are you a Ferrari?
Right.
Are you a Yugo? Are you a golf cart? Are you a Mercedes Benz? And a beat up pickup truck?
Right. And what would the market say you are?
Live the brand. I often use restaurants. You can eat at McDonald's, or you could eat at the most expensive French restaurant in town. It's
right.
dinner both ways. Totally different audiences, totally different experience, totally different reputations. I'd rather be the expensive French restaurant than McDonald's myself. But a lot of firms, all things to all people, low prices, and you want to make more money, carve out a niche and go after a lucrative target audience, as opposed to just taking everything, all things to all people. I see smaller mid-sized firms fall into that trap all the time, all things to all people.
It's very
And that's not-
opportunistic, right? Because they don't want to turn down any business, but really, you need to be known for something. We can
I
go through this
agree.
slide. This slide is
Yeah, we're going to have to
value
sail
of
here,
leadership.
John. I
Yeah.
hate to push you, but
Right. Well, this is just,
anything here you want to highlight?
well, I like my acronym, SMART PR. If you remember this, it's sharing media about relevant topics produces revenue. You could also say relationships, but it's the sharing of this kind of content that really allows you to collaborate and make a relationship. The power of thought leadership is that it credentials you. It creates a sort of a performance story within a niche, and it leads. And I know this is important, especially for firms on the growing end, is that the thought leadership leads to a better quality of work, and the better quality of work, it enables you to recruit better quality of talent, and that just creates a growth cycle, right? It allows you to create then better thought content, which gets the better work. I mean, it's just a big circle of success. If you think about it.
Well, anything to add on this kind of slide here before we jump forward?
Yeah, I think when it comes to the BD outreach and credentialing yourselves, that's the key, and that's like everything that I've been talking about and what I use content for, and how to get to the next meeting, get to the next relationship without doing those sorts of follow-ups, doing more of the value add follow-ups that you all were talking about earlier when it comes to making an outreach to actually get some value that goes to the prospect versus, hey, just following up. Hey, can we meet? Can we meet? That's all about me. It's not about you, the client.
Michael, do you get pushback from the partners? Because what we're talking about, credentialing, for example, that's a long-term play, right? And you're trying to maybe help the lawyers at your firm, Michael, just credential, get quoted, get this. That's a long-term play. Would somebody say, no, but I just need to pitch more? How do you explain that to the partner to be patient, to build that up, or is it just going at the same time? How do you handle that question? Because you're surely asked that.
I mean, there's a number of things, but I always say you have to share as much as you can about your relationship with me before I can tell you which direction we're going in. It's not cookie cutter. We can't say this is going to work for all prospects. So that's why I always need to know more about, I want to know their blood type almost to basically know what's going on with that client. I want to know where they're traveling this year. When I have someone who comes to me and says, yeah, I haven't talked to them, how do I, credential ourselves? I need to know more about them. And I try to map out the next 3 follow-ups before we go to a meeting. And I could give you many different examples, but I'm working with people right now when it comes to, folks going to conferences. Okay, yes, you're going to meet with them, but plan out your next 3 follow-ups to be able to get to that next opportunity to leverage it.
I often find myself saying to lawyers, you got to give to get. You got to share, as you say, give me value, and I feel indebted to you and want to pay you back some way, somehow, be it a referral, be it I'm going to hire you for a matter. So giving to get. So here's the question we got. Come on, you guys aren't voting out there. We got a polling question in play. And my voting is not
Mostly
where
new
it
clients.
should be. New clients is what we're seeing overwhelmingly, but think about laterals. They read about you in the newspaper and your expertise. Think about associates, and John adds here reputation protection, but overwhelmingly we're after new clients.
Or think about using the expertise of Michael, for instance, if you're going after a new lateral. And some firms may have their own recruiting people and whatnot, but think about how approaching a new lateral and saying, if you were to come to our platform, here's a business development plan. here's what we would do with you. Procter & Gamble doesn't go buy Gillette without a plan of what they're going to do with it after they purchase it. And so often, these laterals come over into new firms and they've got their desk and their cards and they're transferring their files and they're kind of like, where are all my friends? And what do I do now? And so not only do I think that marketing and business development can be very useful tools in recruiting by sort of, dangling the prizes in front of potential recruits, but they need to be rebranded as part of your firm once they come on board. If they were special in a niche and now you're bringing them in, all their content from previous firm is going to be online when they're searched, and that's okay because they can only be found at your firm. But at the same time, you want to produce some new content so that there's your firm's associated with them as well. So that's recruiting laterals and bringing laterals on board is a critical use case for this sort of work.
So let me
Michael,
share
you wanted in
a very quick story and what my firm did. So when I joined the firm, new CEO, we were losing attorneys. And then I joined the firm. My wife was wondering why I was going here. And I said, I see something different about this firm. And this is honest to God truth. So there was a story, there's several stories written about people leaving the firm. And we then, like a year later, had an interview with our managing partner with a local business journal, ended up talking about the transition of our firm, growing the firm, but yet we lost a lot of people. So then a year later, there was like the top, 25 largest law firms in the Detroit market, right? And we were 17th. And my person came to me and they're like, oh, should we put out a press release about this? So I was like, well, we're not number one, so what would we say? We were, 17th? We looked at the 16 attorney firms in front of us and they all lost people. But in that year and a half, we gained people. And so the story was told, the way we spun it was we had a 10% increase over the last year from that story that hit a year later where people were like, oh, they're losing people. So that's just a unique way to leverage PR in a different way, but take advantage of the story to spin it for yourself.
Turn lemons into lemonade. I just a quick story,
John,
just talking about the importance. I just got to tell you a story. This guy comes back. He's been in Congress for like 20 years, comes back to his law firm, could open any door in the county with a phone call, right? They threw the party when he came back, and he sat there at his desk waiting for the phone to ring. Didn't want to get out, pick up the phone. This man could have opened any door in town, but so reluctant to do that. Lawyers and this idea of sales, business development, that's tacky, that's gross, that's unprofessional. Some of the old school lawyers still have that notion that lawyer advertising, lawyer marketing is bad, tarnishing to the profession. So it's interesting. I'm looking at the clock here, guys. I'm going to have to jump ahead. We got 5 minutes. This is interesting.
Give me the next slide, actually, John. Give me the next one because I think this is important. So this is just
okay.
Reputation
This is the
expertise.
Association of Corporate Counsel, by the way. That's ACC. Just for what it's worth. Next slide.
So I'm sorry this is small, but if you look, so this is sort of an inverted funnel. This is from BTI. And if you look, like the number one way to get a sale, right, is a referral from a peer. It's a 7.5 rating. An in-person introductory meeting is like a 6.1. If you look at all the red activities, those are all credentialing activities. So they're above value than the awareness activities. The awareness activities are generally like large-scale advertising, the social media presence that you have, bumping into, let's say, a prospect at like the movies, speaking at a prominent industry event. And this would be considered presenting at a small education seminar. And you look, this gets like a 5.4 in terms of usefulness, as opposed to speaking at a big prominent industry event, which is like a 4.8, which is not very far off. But the idea is that the market tends to dismiss the big things because, one, they're not very focused. Like the talk can't be as focused because you're presenting to 2,000 people. And plus you probably paid, or they assume that maybe you paid for the slot. And so whether your expertise is true or not. Whereas something like this
smaller,
is a little bit more sincere. But let me just make one.
Intimate events, I think, are much more conducive to connecting with people than standing behind a podium in a big room.
Absolutely, absolutely. And so this is what's critical though about the credentialing activities, and what BTI study found when we did this is that unlike the awareness activities where once you're made aware of like an ad, and John, you mentioned like it needs like 7 to 11 touches with things. They generally say like you need to be exposed to an ad like 6 to 12 times before it registers. But once it's registered, it's registered, right? It's like, oh, there's that Tiger Woods ad again. But with PR and these credentialing activities, the more you get of them, the more cumulative they are in terms of their success. So getting 3 or 4 quotes and a byline starts to get you to a 7.5 in terms of you start to manufacture basically a peer referral. So that's the real power of sort of this kind of content. And I think
as well, people, be aware of your online, because anyone who's met you thinking about doing business with you is going to Google you, and they're going to find your LinkedIn profile, maybe your Facebook, and maybe your profile on the firm's website, your biographical profile. You got to look good and present your credentials there. And I can't tell you how many smaller mid-sized firms, their bios are woefully out of date. Their Facebook profiles don't suggest that I'm the competent, trustworthy lawyer to take your matter. They're on the beach with margaritas, look like the
blog date
professional.
Is like from 2021,
Yeah, there you go. The dormant blogs, you see that, and it doesn't make you look like you're on top of things when you're featuring content that's 10 years old. So you can refresh the content. John, I know you wanted to talk a little about leveraging, repurposing an article into a speech into an article, and repurposing. You got your article in the paper. Let's memorialize that and distribute it, and leverage it. And so many missed opportunities we see. Firms don't do that. Rewrite the article. That's it. I hope somebody reads it one day. I gotta, again, looking at the clock, guys, we're almost up. But John, if you want to say anything as we slide out here.
Yeah, again, I would say to people that, you want to, here's the 3 takeaways I would say, and I know Michael has some as well, but the first is you want to create content that credentials you. That means giving yourself an imprimatur of a valuable sort of outlet that's beside yourselves. But you want to think in campaigns. You want to focus on niche areas. You want to build a lot of content. So rather than get quoted on 5 different things, get quoted 5 times on the same thing. That's much more valuable.
Exactly. You hear it as the niching thing. You're an expert. You're not the jack of all trades. You're the guy or gal in town, best out there, worth every penny. You're an expert.
And
you're not a jack of all trades.
So just to sort of wrap up, the other slide or 2 is really about what we talked about before, which is that you need to have we call it an after placement plan. And we kind of joke around like, do you have an app for that? But the idea is, do you have a plan for what you're going to do with this piece of content you're going to create? Because if you don't have a plan for it, it's probably not worth the resources. Like John said, 4 hours to write an article or whatever it might be. AI changes that a little bit these days. But if you're going to spend resources on doing something, then it should have some effect or some desired effect. And whether it succeeds or not is a different story, but you need to be able to measure that. And the last thing I would just say is that so many firms are scared, or like when they're hot, right? They're like, we don't need to market. We don't need to do BD. We've got all the work we can handle. And I'll say 2 things about that. And let me just tell a quick story. First and foremost, from a PR perspective, when you're busy, that's when you're interesting. So if you're not working on anything, there's not a lot for us to talk to or share with the media and whatnot. So it's sort of like, when you play a hot hand, you want to keep going. And the idea is when you're busy, that's when you're most interesting to talk to, because you got a lot of stuff going on, you got a lot of stuff to share, and you're interesting to the market in a way that you wouldn't be if you're a little bit dry. So my big sort of takeaway story is early in my career, I was with Fred Bartlett, who's a sort of legendary litigator out of Kirkland & Ellis and a Chicago firm, Bartlett Beck. And he was giving me an intro to his business, and it was our initial meeting. And he pointed to his desk and said, and if you knew Fred Bartlett, he was this big, like barrel-chested guy and whatever. He said, I've got 30 cases on my desk, and I only have time to do 10 a year, and he was just pointing around. He had this little baseball bat in his hand. He was pointing around and stuff. And I stopped him and I said, well, Fred, then what do you need us for? He's like, what do you mean? I said, well, you just said you have 30 cases on your desk and you can only do 10 of them a year. So what do you need someone like me to do marketing for? I don't want to waste my time and have you disappear if I deliver. And he paused for a second and he said, and this clicked for me, and I hope it clicks for everybody. He said, I don't want to pick 10 cases from 30. I want to pick 10 cases from 100. And so the idea there is not, it's not just more work, it's getting more valuable work. And that can be a goal too. So just keep that in mind.
John, those are great tips. Those are really great tips. And I find also you feel like you're busy now, and then in a month from now, if you're a litigator, right? What's the thing about litigations? They all end one way or the other. They're going to end. So to put a bow on that point. I think John might be having some technical problem, John Remsen. So I'm going to end our program today. Just want to thank everybody for participating. John, you've been great. Mike, really interesting, insightful, and we really appreciate both of your participations.
I want to thank Michael for joining me. It's really special. And thanks for having us here.
Great, guys. Have a great day, everybody. Bye now.
Excellent. Bye.
Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.